Just a minute. Yeah. So listen. So yesterday we were discussing one of the previous class we were discussing one of the applications of Torricelli's Bernoulli's theorem or Bernoulli's principle, which is called as Torricelli's law of efflux, right? Now see. Now we'll be discussing another topic, which is also an application of Bernoulli's theorem, which is called Venturi meter. So before we discuss what it is, let's try to recollect what Bernoulli's theorem states. So what does Bernoulli's theorem state? For an ideal fluid, the sum of potential energy, kinetic energy, and pressure energy per unit volume is always a constant, right? So Venturi meter, it is what? It is a device. So it is a device which is used to measure the rate of flow of a liquid through a pipe. So meter generally means a device. Here Venturi means it is a device which is used to measure the rate of flow of a liquid through a pipe. So it is an application of Bernoulli's theorem. It is also called flow meter or Venturi. So here we need to understand certain facts. So what is it used for? It is used to measure the rate of flow of a liquid through a pipe. What do you mean by rate of flow? So rate means I've already told you, right? So what does rate mean?
In some amount of time.
Respect to time.
Yes, some parameter has to change with respect to time. Okay, so rate means dt in the denominator or delta t in the denominator, accepted. So rate of, what do you mean by flow of liquid, guys? So what do you mean by flow of liquid? Are you going to calculate how much distance the liquid has traveled? Are you going to calculate how much area the liquid has covered or how much volume the liquid has covered? What are you actually going to calculate? Are you able to understand my question? So think, think and tell me.
The speed, sir, of the liquid.
No. We're actually not going to calculate the speed. When I say rate of flow of a liquid, my interest of study will be how much volume is traveling per unit time. So it is actually the amount of volume per unit time that we are going to calculate, or delta V by delta T. Am I clear? Okay. But I have to tell you one more important point on this. What is area into velocity? Area into velocity is always a constant for an ideal liquid, right? So area is measured in meter square. Speed is measured in meter per second. You get meter cube per second. So meter cube per second is what actually? Meter cube is measured for what parameter?
Volume, sir.
So if you calculate the amount of volume per unit time, indirectly to calculate this, what are we going to calculate? We will calculate the area of cross section and multiply it with the corresponding speed at that particular point. Am I clear? So here what I'm trying to say is, the point that I'm trying to stress is, if at all in a question they are giving you, if at all they give you a question saying that find the rate of flow of a liquid, and the question they have given you area and velocity, how will you find the rate of velocity? How will you find the rate of flow? Just multiply area of cross section with velocity. Am I clear, guys? Is there any doubt? Is there any point you want me to repeat?
So A into V gives rate of flow, sir.
Rate of flow of a liquid. Yes. So A into V is another way of looking at rate of flow. So rate of flow means, by now you should have understood, it is the amount of volume flowing per unit time. Right? Shall I proceed?
1 minute, sir.
Yeah, make a note.
One, sir.
Right? So now let's see how the construction of Venturi meter is. So it consists of a horizontal tube, right? So when you spoke about Torricelli's law of reflex, you had a vertical tank. Here you will have a horizontal tube, and that horizontal tube will have varying cross section, such that you will have a wider opening of cross section A1, and you will have a narrow cross section which is of value A2. Let the speed at A1 be V1, at speed at A2 be V2, right? So these two regions of the horizontal tube are connected to a device called as manometer, containing a liquid of density ρm. So manometer is also a device which is used to measure pressure. So pressure is measured using the depth concept. Okay. So what are they trying to say? So how are they connected? It consists of a, let's read it out again. It consists of a horizontal tube of varying cross section, where you have a broader area and a narrow area. And what else is the other important point? And it is connected across, I suggest you guys draw it. It consists of a manometer like this. Okay. Inside this manometer, there is a liquid of density rho m.
So I have a doubt.
Tell me.
Could you just tell once what's a manometer, sir?
Manometer is a device which is used to measure pressure.
Okay, sir.
So it is, see, there are two devices which are used to measure pressure. One is called as barometer and second is a manometer. Meter generally is a measuring device. Okay? That is why here also you see Venturi meter, speedometer. All these things are there, no? Generally, meter in physics is used for measuring devices. The word that comes before will help you. So here, manometer means it is an instrument which is used to measure the pressure, which is there in a fluid column. If you want, you can write down the definition. Write it down. I'll give you. So write it down. What a manometer is: an instrument for measuring the pressure. An instrument used for measuring the pressure acting on a column of liquid. Acting on a column of liquid. It consists of a U-shaped tube. It consists of a U-shaped tube. This U-shaped tube is there, right? The tube is what is called as a manometer. U-shaped tube of liquid in which the difference in pressure in the two liquid columns is measured. Okay, generally it looks like this. I'll share a pixie. It will be a tube like this. One minute. It will be a tube like this. Okay. You're able to see a U-shaped tube, right?
Yes, sir.
The U-shaped tube is there. 1 minute. The U-shaped tube, there is a liquid, right? A blue color liquid is filled. Look at the way the liquid is filled. So is the liquid filled to the same height?
No, sir.
No, right? So I'll ask you a question, you guys tell me. Suppose I have a tube like this. Here and here, let's say the liquid is to the same height. Then what is the conclusion I can draw? Then if I ask you the relation between the pressure at point 1 and pressure at point 2, what will you say?
P1 equal to P2.
P1 equal to P2. But if this liquid is getting pushed downwards, and here right side the liquid is getting raised upwards such that you get this kind of a scenario, then which side pressure is more? Left hand side or right hand side?
Left.
Hand side, sir.
So left hand side. Okay. So if you create this kind of a scenario by applying a pressure, okay, you have applied the pressure in such a way that the left hand side, the liquids were equal. When the liquid has got displaced by a distance h on the left hand side in the downward direction, the other side, the liquid has raised by height of h. You're able to understand that point? Such that what will happen is, we know one fact. pressure at a given depth is the same. So pressure at point 1 and pressure at point 2. This concept you remember, right? Pressure at the same horizontal level is a constant. So pressure at 1 is PA. What is the pressure at 2? It is PA plus rho GH. So P1 is equal to P2 means, so what can you say? That the excess pressure that is existing here is how much?
Rho GH.
That is rho GH. Okay, that is how. So this is how a manometer works. It is used to measure using the difference in heights. Are you able to visualize what a manometer does? The same logic is applicable here also. So what will be the pressure? Generally, it will be rho GH, where rho is the density of the liquid, G is the acceleration due to gravity, and H is the height difference. Okay,
So
this
can
red
you
color.
zoom in the diagram?
Fine. Did you copy it?
1 minute, sir. Done, sir.
Yeah. So in whichever derivation you see an ideal liquid and the liquid is flowing, the first step that you can do is you can always apply the equation of continuity. So what does the equation of continuity state? The product of area of cross section and the corresponding velocity is always a constant. So A1 into V1 is equal to A2 into V2. I hope there is no doubt in this. Second, so please make a note of this. Let this be equation number 1. Second, if the liquid has density rho, so here please understand there is a liquid which is flowing through the tube of density rho, and there is another liquid also which has a density rho m. So where is rho m present? Rho m is present in the manometer. Rho is flowing within the venturimeter tube, within the horizontal tube. Actually, this whole thing put together is a venturimeter tube. Okay. Then from Bernoulli's theorem, what is that we can understand? There are 2 points needed, right? So P1 and P2. So can I say pressure at point 1 plus half rho V1 square plus, so look at the way I'm going to write. P1 plus half rho V1 square plus density of the liquid that is flowing through the tube into G into height of the liquid from the bottom. So if I take the height of the liquid from the bottom as capital H, then what will happen is the difference between the area of this and this is so small that this H is almost a constant. Okay, this will be equal to pressure at point 2 plus half into rho into V2 square plus what? Plus rho G into capital H. Are you guys able to understand what I'm writing? Did you understand about rho GH? So the gravitational potential energy that I have written here is with respect to the reference ground. So what kind of a tube is this? It is a horizontal tube in such a way that the height to the center of mass and the center of mass is the same. Because see, the center of mass is lying along the
Perpendicular.
they are lying along the same line. Are you guys able to visualize this? Am I
Yes,
clear
sir.
or not? Is that okay? That is why if you see rho GH will get cancelled. Rho GH gets cancelled. So what is that they have written? P1 plus half rho V1 square is equal to P2 plus half rho V2 square. So I will write it in a separate page. Wait. Next, what else can I write? What else is the other equation that we can write? So P1 plus half rho V1 square is equal to P2 plus half rho V2 square. Let this be equation number 2. And we already know A1 V1 is equal to A2 V2, right? So, okay, wait. I'll do one thing. P1 minus P2 is equal to half into rho into V2 square minus V1 square. Accepted? So, this will be half into, okay? So, half into rho into, what is V2? V2 is nothing but A1 V1 by A2. So, A1 V1 by A2 the whole square minus V1 square. So can I write it as half rho into V1 square into A1 by A2, that is A1 square by A2 square minus 1, that is P1 minus P2. Guys, look at that expression, tell me if you're clear or not.
So can you explain that V2 part, the substitution for V2?
V2, see what I did is, from this expression can I say V2 is equal to A1 V1 by A2.
Okay, sir, understood.
I substituted then, that's it. Okay, we are almost done with the derivation. So P1 minus P2 is the pressure difference between the broader end and the narrow end, right? So here, if I take the U tube, that is a U-shaped tube, which we call it as manometer. Right. This height is h. And what is the density of the liquid here? Rho m. So try to understand. The pressure here is P1 and pressure here is P2. What is P2 minus P1 equal to? That is rho m, sorry, P1 minus P2, because P1 is more, no? P1 minus P2 will be equal to rho m into G into H. Accepted? This I already explained when I explained the Venturi meter concept. Sorry, the manometer concept. Right? So P1 minus P2 is rho m into GH is equal to half rho into V1 square into A1 square by A2 square minus 1. So from this, what we can do is we can calculate V1 square as 2 rho m into GH divided by rho into V1 square into A1 square by A2 square minus 1. So, sorry, I wrote V1 again. So what is the value of V1, guys? Square root of 2 times rho m into GH divided by rho into A1 square minus A2 square. And here you have A2 square. Does it make sense? I took LCM and took the A2 square to the numerator. So what will come out of the square root? A2 into root of 2 into rho m into GH divided by rho into A1 square minus A2 square. Done. So what did we find? So we have found the velocity. But what is the work of a Venturi meter? Is it to find the velocity?
To find volume, sir.
To find the volume per unit time. But I told you again, volume per unit time is indirectly nothing but area multiplied with speed. So can I write it as A1 into V1? Right. So I have found V1. Simply if I multiply that with A1, that is going to give me the rate of flow. That will be A1 into A2 into 2 times rho m into GH divided by rho into A1 square minus A2 square. So this is the expression for rate of flow of a liquid through a Venturi meter. Don't worry, problems will not be asked based on this. This derivation might come. Okay, they will not ask you any problems. Don't worry about it. So let me know once you're done.
So I have a doubt here. Rho m and rho are different, sir.
Yeah, rho m is the liquid in the this unit. Wait a minute. Rho m is the density of the liquid in the manometer. Rho is the density of the liquid flowing through the horizontal tube.
So they are of the same liquid, but they have different values.
No, they are not. They are different liquids. See, rho m is what? Density of liquid in manometer. Rho is what? Density of liquid through horizontal tube.
So they are the same liquid, sir.
No, they are not the same liquid. That's what I'm saying. Manometer, it's a different liquid. Horizontal tube, it's a different liquid. That's why the densities are different. Same liquid cannot have different densities, no? See, I cannot say the density of water is 1000 kilogram per meter cube, and I cannot say density of the liquid in the density of water in the manometer is something else. I cannot say it like that. Density of water is fixed.
But they won't mix, sir, the liquids.
No, they won't. They might be immiscible liquids.
Okay, sir.
Means they'll not mix with each other. Generally, those kinds of liquids are only preferred. They don't react with each other.
Sir,
Tell me.
in the second line, what in RHS it is given A2 into root of 2 rho mgh divided by rho into A1 square minus A2 square. In the LHS, what it is, sir? Like, what is the value in LHS, sir?
That is the rate of flow of liquid.
Sir, and okay, sir. Sir, and where do, sir, A2 square was written in the first slide. The second line, why, sir, only A2 is written?
A2 square under a root will come out. A2.
Okay, sir. I thought it was outside.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the overall expression. Right. So this is all about Bernoulli's theorem. Am I clear, guys? So some of the applications of Bernoulli's theorem is, one is called as dynamic lift. Okay. So one is called as a dynamic lift. Dynamic lift is the force that acts on an object such as an aeroplane wing or hydrofoil or a spinning ball by virtue of its motion through a fluid. Okay. Suppose you see the wing of an aeroplane, then what should happen is there should be a pressure difference for it to fly. Right? It should get lifted. So there should be a force that needs to act on it. And that force that is going to act on that aeroplane wing is what is called as a dynamic lift. And that is also one of the applications of whom? One of the applications of Bernoulli's principle only. Secondly, there is an effect called as Magnus effect. Okay. So let me read this out. So generally, the Magnus effect speaks about why does the ball why does a ball spin? So when a ball is thrown horizontally with large velocity at the same time, given a twisting motion to cause a spin, it deviates from its usual parabolic path. Means if the ball is given a velocity like this, see if I throw it horizontally, what will happen? It will go and hit the floor and bounce back. Right? So what is the kind of path that is being followed? By now you should have understood that it's a parabolic path. Right? So that is when you give the velocity alone. But if you give a spin also, means if you create a torque also, then what will happen? Then the object will not only travel in this parabolic path, it is going to get deviated from its usual parabolic trajectory of spin-free motion. This deviation can be explained on the Bernoulli's principle. So they will ask you to explain the Magnus effect. So when a ball spins about an axis perpendicular to its horizontal motion, so this is the axis will pass through it like this. So when it is spinning about an axis perpendicular to its horizontal motion, it carries itself with it an air layer due to the viscous drag. So there will definitely be some viscous force existing between the ball and the surrounding medium. Okay. So the streamlines around it in the form of the streamlines surrounded are in the form of concentric circles that are shown here. See, this is what is going to happen. Okay. Then what will happen is, when the ball is moving forward with a velocity v, the air ahead the ball rushes backward with a velocity v to fill the space left empty by the ball. Okay. Thus, the streamlines in the air due to the translatory motion of the ball or of the form as shown in the figure 10.37b. So this is what is going to happen. So initially what will happen is, see, when the ball spins about an axis perpendicular to its horizontal motion, it carries itself with an air layer due to the viscous drag. So along with the ball, there is a layer of air which is due to the viscous drag that is happening. Okay. So when this is happening and the ball is moving forward also, then what will happen when the ball is moving forward with the velocity v? The air ahead of the ball, so air on the top of the ball, rushes backwards with the velocity v to fill the space left empty by the ball. Okay. So as a result of which there will be a streamline like this followed. Okay. So due to the translated motion as shown in the figure 10.70. So the layer above the ball moves in the direction opposite to that of the spinning ball. So the resultant velocity decreases and hence the pressure increases in accordance with the Bernoulli's principle. So the layer below the ball moves in the direction of spin and the resultant velocity increases and hence pressure decreases. So due to the difference, the pressure on the two sides of the ball curves down in the direction of spin as shown in this diagram. Okay, so here there are no mathematical expression. What you need to understand is, when you give spin to the ball, let me put it in simple terms. When you give spin to the ball, there is a layer of air medium which is formed around the ball due to whom? Due to the viscous drag. Then there will be a streamline that is formed. When the ball is trying to travel forwards, there will be a streamline that is formed surrounding the ball in this kind of a format, as a result of which the velocity will decrease because of the viscosity and the pressure will increase in accordance. Okay. When these two things are happening, the ball will start attaining a path like this. This is what you need to write. There is no mathematical expression or something that is going to be present. You can just read it. If you have a doubt, you can approach.
Sir, can you show the Magnus effect definition, sir? Can you write that Magnus?
There is no definition at all.
No, sir. That
There, dynamic lift is there, that definition. There is no definition for Magnus effect. This kind of an effect where a ball spins is what is called as Magnus effect. Okay. So all these are theory, which are the applications of Bernoulli's theorem, which you can actually go through. There is nothing much for me to explain. Okay. Let's do some simple problems. So water flows through a horizontal pipe of varying cross section at the rate of 10 cubic meter per minute. Determine the velocity of water at a point where the radius of the pipe is 10 centimeter. So you guys do it. Read the question alone, you people try. Water flows through a horizontal pipe. So wherever you see horizontal pipe, okay, of varying cross section. So though the cross section is going to vary, the height of the liquid column will be the same. That is the meaning. And the water is flowing at a rate of what? 10 cubic centimeter per minute. Determine the velocity of a water at a point where the radius of the pipe is 10 centimeter. So how to do, guys? Can someone tell me? So what are the given data? They have given the rate of flow of liquid. Rate of flow of liquid is given by what formula? Okay, just now I told you what is rate of flow of liquid. It is volume flowing per unit time. But volume flowing
Area
per
into
unit time,
velocity.
that's it. So they have given you area into velocity at a particular point. So A1 into V1 is how much? 10 cubic centimeter per minute converted to, I think we can leave it in cubic meter per minute itself. If you want, we can convert it to second. So 10 centimeter cube by 60 second. So 1 by 6 centimeter cube per second. So this is the amount of water that is flowing per unit time. So A2V2 is same as A1V1. So A2V2 pi R2 square into V2 is equal to A1V1 is 1 by 6 centimeter cube per second. So what is the value of R2, guys? 10 centimeter. So substitute 10 here, substitute all the values, then you can find what is the value of V2. Am I clear? Is there anyone who is not clear? You want me to do it in an elaborate way? I'll do it. But you have to ask. So I assume it is clear. Wait, open your mouth and speak.
I have a doubt actually.
Then ask. No. Why are you
When
waiting?
we convert meter cube to centimeter cube, shouldn't there be something in tenths?
Not necessary. See, maybe you will report the answer in centimeter per second. That's still accepted. Because they didn't ask, they are not so specific about reporting your answer in meter per second. You need not worry about that.
Even centimeter per second is accepted. So.
It's accepted, yeah. See, if you have the doubt, no, like, see, if at all you're not sure of what your teacher is expecting, if you write in centimeter per second, and the last step, what you do, you write it as or in terms of meter per second also. You're on a safer side, right?
Yes, sir.
You just write both the options and leave it to the teacher. They will take care. Okay. But it's not necessary that you have to convert it to. Sometimes you can leave it in centimeter per minute also. But the more standard way is centimeter per second or meter per second. That's why we prefer that. Okay. So wait for a minute. We'll do some more problems.
One minute, will you show that example?
Example, huh? Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So we'll do two more problems and then we can wind up. But this Bernoulli's theorem is over. So let's do example number 53 and 56. So water flows through a horizontal pipe whose internal diameter is 2 centimeter at a speed of 1 meter per second. What should be the diameter of the nozzle if the water is to emerge at a speed of 4 meter per second? So water flows through a horizontal pipe again, whose internal diameter is 2 centimeter and speed is how much? 1.0 meter per second. What should be the diameter of the nozzle? The velocity with which it is supposed to emerge is 4 meter per second. So logically think and tell me, should the diameter increase or decrease? So what does the equation of continuity? What does the equation of continuity tell us? Area of cross section is inversely proportional to the speed of the liquid. So you can write A1 V1 is equal to A2 V2. So what is A1 V1? Pi D1 square into V1 is equal to pi D2 square into V2. Pi and pi will get cancelled. What is D1 square? 4 into V1 is 1 is equal to, see, actually it is not 4, 4 divided by 4. Why did I write 4 in the denominator? Because it is pi d1 square by 4, right? Right, 4 and 4 will get cancelled. So here actually we can directly write it as 4. There is any doubt? Let me know. So what is the value of D2, guys? So diameter 2 should be 1 centimeter. So see, here the thing is I never converted centimeter to meter at all, because we are sure, see, when you face these kind of questions, no, we are sure that the equations will get cancelled. Like The terms will get cancelled. Both the sides will have the same unit. Since D1 is given in 2 centimeter, there is nothing wrong in reporting the final answer for D2 also in terms of centimeter. So you need not convert. If you do conversions, again a headache will start because the decimals will come into picture. Right?
So since it's a pipe, you are using by force, sir.
It is diameter. See, the pi r square is the area, but r is d by 2.
Okay, sir, understood now.
Yeah. That is why I used a 4. Okay. See, this chapter is not that easy. I'm able to understand that you guys are not revising on a regular basis. You should do it. 54. At what speed will the velocity head of a stream of water be at 40 centimeter? So what is the formula for velocity head? So for that, what you can do? What is the formula for velocity head?
Half v square by g, sir.
Yes. So that's the answer. So at what speed will the velocity head? So this will be equal to the height. So height is how much? 40 centimeters. Substitute the value of 40 there. Find V. V will be equal to root of 2gh. Find the value. That will be the final answer. 50th you need not do. 56th alone will frame the equations. Then calculation part you can do it. So 56th C. Calculate the total energy possessed by 1 kilogram of water at a point where the pressure is 20 gram force per millimeter square. Okay, 20 gram force per millimeter square. Velocity is 0.1 meter per second and the height is 50 centimeter above the ground level. So they are asking calculate the total energy possessed by 1 kilogram of water. Calculate the total energy possessed by 1 kilogram of water. How to calculate? So we will calculate pressure per unit mass. Okay. So total energy per unit mass. That will be pressure energy by mass plus kinetic energy by mass plus potential energy by mass. So P divided by rho plus half V square plus GH. Okay, this is what they are asking. So this is the total energy possessed. So how much is the pressure they have given? They have given it as 20 gram force. So how much is 20 gram force? See, 1 kilogram force is equal to 9.8 Newton. So 1 gram force should be how much? So
10.8 into 10 power 3, sir.
we can write it as 20 into 10 power minus 3 kgf. That's a safer side, right? So 20 into 10 power minus 3 into, but they have given kilogram force per millimeter. Okay. First, let me convert this to Newton. Are you able to understand what I'm doing? So 20 into 10 power minus 3 kilogram force, that is 20 into 10 power minus 3 into 9.8 Newton. So 20 gram force per millimeter square, that is nothing but 20 into 10 power minus 3 into 9.8 divided by 1 millimeter is how many meter? 10 power minus 3 square. So 10 power minus 3 will cancel this one time. So 20 into 9.8 is 196. So 98 means 196 into 10 power 3, or it is 19.6 into 10 power 4 Newton per meter square. Is everyone clear with what conversion I did? Just take your time, let me know.
Will they provide in the question how much is 1 kilogram force?
No. 1 kilogram force is to be known. Please make a note. We have done this problem many times. 1 kilogram force is equal to 9.8 Newton. It is a known quantity. Like how the value of G is 9.8 meters per second square. 1 kilogram force is always 9.8 Newton. It's a fixed value. Okay. So you have found the pressure. So what liquid have they given? 1 kilogram of water, right? So pressure is 19.6 divided by density of water is 1000 plus half into what is the velocity they have given? 0.1 meter per second. So 0.1 square plus G into H. G is 10 into height is how much?
50 centimeters.
1, 2, 3, gone. So 196 plus half into 0.01 plus 10 into 50 into 10 power minus 2, that is 5. So this will be 0.005. 196 plus 5 is how much? 201 plus 0.005. So it is 201.005. Did you understand why I wrote joule per kilogram?
Why,
Yes
sir?
or no? Because what did we calculate? We calculated the total energy per unit mass. Energy is measured in joule per unit mass. Mass is measured in kilogram. That's why I reported the final answer as joule per kilogram.
Okay, sir. Understood.
Okay, the remaining problems you can try it from the book which is given by us. There are some practice papers and all those things. You can do it from there. So one last part that is left in this chapter is surface tension. You learn the same thing in your chemistry under surface chemistry chapter. I think it is in 11th only, I don't remember. But you learn it as surface chemistry. So the same thing as surface tension. The only difference between chemistry and physics is in chemistry you will read about the logics. In physics we will see logic plus the mathematical equations also. Okay. Is there any other doubt?
So whatever sums we did, it's in the PDF you sent, sir, in the group.
Like which one? The one which I did today?
It's under pictures, sir. Yes, sir.
This one? Huh?
Yes, sir.
I'll do it. Yeah. I'll send it. Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Just wait for a minute. Just a minute. Yes, I've sent it in the group. Just check and tell me if you have received it.
Yes, sir, received.